listening to Driving Law, a podcast by Kyla Lee about all things related to the rules of the road.
Hello, and welcome to another episode of Driving Law. I am Kyla Lee at Acumen Law, and with me today, I have my good friend, Jan Semenoff. Jan is an incredibly experienced person. He's been on the podcast before, so our longtime listeners will be familiar with hearing him and hearing about him. He has a background as a former Saskatoon Police Services officer, as well as a paramedic. And since his retirement from the police service, he has been working as a forensic consultant, forensic expert, dealing with alcohol and drug-impaired driving investigations, issues that can affect breathalyzers, doing breathalyzer training, and he is joining us today to talk about a new program that he's developed for people who are on alcohol monitoring programs. So, Jan, welcome.
Thanks very much. Thanks for having me again.
Did I do justice to you in your introduction there?
Probably a little bit more than I deserve, but no, that was. I do like the part about being a good friend. That makes me feel good.
That's the important part.
This guy I just brought in off the street. We're going to listen to him for the next 10 minutes.
So, your program is called the MyCam program.
Right. Yeah. So
Tell us what it is. So tell me more about it.
CAM stands for continuous alcohol monitoring. When people are sometimes they're on conditional release prior to going to court, and are on something like an ignition interlock device or a transdermal alcohol monitor. And sometimes they're placed on those as a period of probation after court has been, concluded.
Yep.
And what we're finding over the last number of years is I'm probably doing as many cases for the alcohol monitoring violations as I am for the original DUI or alcohol-related event that got the person in trouble in the first place. I'm
Wow.
also doing a lot of those sorts of CAM violations or monitoring issues for family lawyers.
Oh, because of the SoberLink program.
Well, SoberLink or even ignition interlock, because if you're going to have your kids in the car this weekend and there's an allegation of alcohol use disorder, then you better be, clean when you're blowing into the device, starting your car. And some of the parents are also on transdermal monitors, so they can't have alcohol at all when they have custody of their kids or visitation with their kids. This last year is probably one of the first years in the last 10 years or so at Christmas where I didn't have an emergency hearing for an allegation of noncompliance, and either mom or dad was going to lose, visitation with the kids over Christmas. So
That's awful.
there's starting to be more of an ubiquitous way of dealing with alcohol violations or convictions, as opposed to, a period of custodial sentencing. We can put a person on an alcohol monitoring device. They get to stay gainfully employed. They get to have access to their family and their kids and their work. And it's, better for all concerned. It's cheaper, it's better, it's faster, more compliant.
I
But
don't know. I feel like my clients, I get a lot of pushback on if they're going to be on alcohol monitoring like an interlock. They don't want to. But I think your program is aimed at addressing some of the reasons why they don't want to.
Well, absolutely. But I mean, your other choice, if you don't want to be on that alcohol monitoring program, is you can go to the correctional center every weekend for the next 8 months. And that has not worked out well for a lot of people in the past. So the idea with the program, and just to give you a quick insight into it, because I'm doing these cases all the time, I'm starting to see, the same issues for the reports that you send me to write. I'm starting to now see them kind of at the back end.
Yep.
The problem is, though, that by this time, typically they've already been through the court system, and the courts have a tendency to treat it like a probation violation, and the hammer comes down pretty heavy. I did one in Galveston, Texas last year where the young woman had been on an alcohol monitoring device, ankle monitoring device, and she got a single reading of 031 that disappeared a half an hour later. That means that her elimination rate of alcohol would have to be between 0.3 and 0.6. to get
Well,
rid of that amount of alcohol in only 3
clearly
days, right?
serious alcoholic.
Yeah, yeah, like faster than any human being out there is what it boils down to, and there are some other
I want
issues.
that elimination rate, although I guess I'd never get drunk if I had that elimination rate, so that'd be no fun.
Well, that would be actually perfect for me because then I could enjoy the scotch and not have to worry about the consequences, right? So anyway, what happened to her was she got tossed back in the clink for 6 months waiting
Um,
trial for the probation violation, and we had to go down and explain why there were other issues with this device and how this was not reflective of alcohol physiology and probably an incident. Another
yep,
one I had was, woman and her husband went to the Christmas party, and she was given the company blanket in microfiber with a beautiful embroidered logo on it. They got it home and, "Oh, honey, this will be just wonderful to cuddle it up in tonight underneath, go to bed." And they pulled it out of the plastic wrap, and it was just full of static cling. So hubby said, "Oh, no problem." Went to the hallway closet, got out a can of Static Guard, hosed the blanket down, and her ankle monitor went from 0 to 320 milligrams. Boom, like that, and stayed that way for about 6 hours as the alcohol eliminated by not elimination, but by evaporation. And again, we had to explain to the court why this was a problem, and she also got thrown back in jail for 6 or 7 months awaiting trial.
jeez,
These are
we got
entirely preventable sorts of events.
yeah,
So what we did is we put together a training program. It's not really a training program for the lawyers, although they should take it so they understand the ins and outs and the deficiencies of any of these sorts of devices.
yep,
But it's a training program for the end user participant, the end user client.
yep,
Hopefully, it's designed to train out, these kind of issues. So we identify devices, talk about how a fuel cell works, how it
yep.
can be confounded by different things, and then we start to take a look at best practice. What should you do?
Yeah, like a 15-minute deprivation period, not using products that contain alcohol in proximity to the device if possible, unless you're wearing a monitoring.
Well, absolutely. And like I had another case where the guy was working in a bar, and it was one of those kind of casual open air bars where they're all walking around in, shorts and sandals and stuff like that with his ankle monitor off. And every night between 10 and midnight, his ankle monitor is starting to give a heavy reading.
Yep,
So, maybe getting him onto a thing like a SoberLink personal breath tester as opposed to a Scram ankle monitor is going to be more efficient for him on
right.
the long run. So it's that educational component.
Okay. And so how does one, like, get to this program? What do people do if they're interested in it?
Oh, it's super easy. We're gonna be basically putting it out on Facebook and YouTube and letting people know with social media, but you go to a website called My Cam Program, My Continuously Alcohol Monitoring Program, so
Okay.
mycamprogram.com,
Yep,
and you can sign up. It's that easy, and you don't need your lawyer's permission, you don't need the court's permission, you don't need your probation officer's permission. You can take it, and it, is designed not to be coercive and not to be punitive, but to be supportive and to be educational and help the person get through that monitoring journey, as close to unscathed as possible.
so if a person signs up for this program, it's gonna be something accessible via videos. Can they go back to it? Like, if they go through the program, they watch everything, they've learned it all, but then 3 months down the road, they're like, "Wait a minute, I thought I heard something about this." Can they go back and watch
Oh,
it again?
absolutely. And that's a really good point. It's accessible for the entire term basically of your monitoring condition.
Okay.
You put in basically how long you're gonna be on the monitoring, and we'll make sure that you've got access to the program for that entire length of time. And you might need to go back because, I didn't really pay attention to the thing of the cold and the flu, and now I'm feeling under the weather and I wanna take NyQuil. Or no, you go back and take a look at that and decide, "Oh, that's an over-counter medication that's about 35% alcohol by volume. Maybe I shouldn't take that one. Maybe I should find an alternative."
Yeah.
Or, I wanna start, my ketogenic diet. What do I do to protect myself during that period of time? My doctor has just told me I'm pre-diabetic or diabetic. Now, how do I manage that?
Yeah.
So they can go back and access the program at any time and refresh themselves. It's also, It's kind of dual based. We've got videos that they can watch. It's kind of a minimum. Then there's written material that, some people learn best by reading. Some people learn best by watching a video. And then they can even take in certain chapters and lessons, individual, we'll direct them back to the Counterpoint website for a more detailed kind of scientifically oriented article. So
Is
it,
there, like, testing they have to do? Like, do they have to take a quiz to show they learned the information?
well, that's an interesting point. Right now, yes, there are quizzes, and it's more reflective quizzes,
Yep.
just to help you ensure that you are getting it. They're not hard quizzes. They're not, we're not doing Jeopardy at all by any stretch of the imagination. Um,
Wait, do you find Jeopardy hard?
no, and the tournament champions always kind of screws me up, but they're
'Cause potables should be right up your alley.
yeah, yeah, I'm good at that one. Yeah, but anything that's like current affairs in terms of
US
social stuff, and I still think Led Zeppelin's a brand new band. So there you go. Um, no, but the idea is that you can learn at different pace and you can learn at different rates, and then you can go back and access the stuff. The other thing is that you can download a book. I'm just putting the finishing touches on the book. It's everything's out and available right now, but I'm changing the download to make it a lot easier. And it's like 100-page download that you can print out, and it's got logbook sheets and reflection guides and a glossary of terms and you know different things for different folks. It's all done, by the way, too, on an a la carte kind of item. So if you're
Okay.
diabetic, you should take that module. If you work in an office, then you don't necessarily need to take the module on occupational exposure to different hydrocarbons. But maybe your
Unless you work in
hobby,
my office.
yeah, yeah, but maybe your office is, I don't know, attached to a gin distillery, or go figure.
Yeah.
Or, fixing cars up on the weekend and doing that kinda stuff, and you're using those kinda chemicals.
Are you also referring to us because Paul parks his cars in the back of our law office and does car repairs there on the weekends?
I would never presume to
Who
refer.
would ever presume that he would
It
not
was
be.
random, trust me, it
Yeah.
was random.
Mm. So do how, can this help somebody in court? Like, if they get a breach and then they do the program, can it help to
I
see
thi
that?
I think it could, but I think it's gonna help the lawyer, defend that kinda breach better because we'll have, logbooks, and we'll have records, and we'll have stuff maintained. Let me tell you a very interesting thing. The ankle monitors, people typically do not get notified that there was a violation allegation for sometimes 2, 3, 4 months down the road
Oh, wow.
by the time it goes through the system. Now, if you're a diabetic, as an example, your blood glucose meter may have already overwritten with more current information for something that happened 120 days ago. It might only store 60 or 90 days worth of data.
Yep.
So maybe keep a logbook. Um, And once we've got that kind of due diligence created and some kind of, contemporaneous notes made at the time, it should go to help people out. You know that story about the couple with the microfiber blanket. The only reason that they knew that that was a problem is they would go back and take, well, that was the night we went to the Christmas party. That was the night we got the microfiber blanket.
Right.
I mean, if you were just all of a sudden told that, "Oh, by the way, Kyla, you would have, had a blood alcohol content of 320 milligrams on April the 3rd."
I believe it.
Yeah, and how do you prove otherwise, right? If
I
you're up
probably did.
Yeah, 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 if you don't keep a logbook. There's also things in there on, how to talk to kids about the fact that you're on a monitoring device.
Oh,
Uh,
okay.
what do I need to do if I've got a healthcare provider and I've got to have some stuff done? It's a complete package, and it's been reviewed by toxicologists, pharmacologists. My partner in crime has got a PhD in curriculum development, so we've worked on this really, really carefully to make sure it's a good program.
Okay. And so what does it cost for somebody to take this program?
Well, it's $47,
Oh, okay.
so it's not
Affordable.
expensive at all. I
Can't even get to 320 milligrams without spending more than $47.
That's right. That's exactly right. It can't be more expensive than the bottle of bourbon that got you in trouble in the first place, for one. Also, we recognize that when people are going onto these kind of programs, there's installation fees for having an ignition interlock put into your car. There's an installation fee for having an ankle monitor strapped around your ankle, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, plus the monitoring fees. It's a lot cheaper, I think, to train out the issues and make sure they don't happen in the first place than trying to deal with them after the fact.
That is the probably best advice I think you can give. It's better to know, and knowledge is power. And if you know what can affect you, you're going to be able to set yourself up for success rather than having to deal with something that wasn't actually a failure.
That's right. And the problem is that they're not failures. I'm dealing primarily with people. Look, if you were drinking after the fact and you knew that you were drinking after the fact and the data is there, you're probably not going to argue it too terribly much. The cases I get are people that, swear up and down that they were not drinking.
Mhm.
They've got witnesses that say, "No, no, no, she was not drinking at all, and these are the circumstances." And again, because they're probation violations, they can be really, or family court. I mean, think about losing the custody of your kids or losing visitation and losing the trust of the family court
Yep.
because, the allegations keep coming up. You'd also be surprised how many times in the last, say, 15 years, I've had a phone call from a lawyer. I do the initial intake from my end. I say, it sounds like your client is a diabetic. No, no, my client's not diabetic. I said, well, go off and get him tested with an A1C level and a blood glucose challenge test. And I get a phone call 3 weeks later. Oh, you're right. My client was diabetic. So we'll see how that really changes with people in this program as well.
Yeah. Well, this is all great. This sounds really good. If people want to sign up for the program, if you've heard about this and you're like, I want to do this, you don't have to be on an alcohol monitoring program to take the course. You can take it if you just want to have the knowledge in case it ever comes up for you. All of the information about things that can affect fuel cell breathalyzers also apply to roadside breathalyzers that we use here in British Columbia for punishment. So it can give you knowledge that can help you deal with the police as well if something ever happens in the future. mycamprogram.com.
Yep. mycamprogram.com.
All right.
It, I don't know when this is going to actually be released to the public, but it goes live on September the 18th at 9 o'clock Central Standard Time.
Well, our podcast will come out after that. So by the
Well,
time our
be up.
listeners are
Perfect.
hearing this, they'll be able to sign in and sign up as they're listening to you talk about this. Thank you so much for joining us, Jan.
Thanks, Kyler, for letting me let people know about it. I think it's going to be a good and important program.
I agree.
All right.